too, because
I think that is what most important to Saudis.
exactly, the protection of the monarch too. The monarch, the leadership system they run, it protects. So the US protects it. So if any dissident wants to raise any issue against this thing, if it is not being projected by the Western media, then it doesn't have so much of a traction. But if the West goes against them and they begin to give the PR to the dissidents, then it becomes a concern, and yeah, it could cause internal unrest that could lead to like what we were seeing in the early in the 2000, some years back, 2012 downward, when we had the Arab Spring, whereby there were revolts in Arab countries. So this is one of those things that the West is helping them to protect. So they've been neck deep into alliance with the Western world, and not so much dissident that the only thing that is keeping them is the alliance with the West, as they understand it.
So I quickly wanted to also shed more light on the same monarch system or the same system of governance run in Iran that was said to be an evil regime, that said it needs to change, that it is really, how do you put it, not allowing freedom for women and everything. It's the same thing that is running in Saudi Arabia, where women too don't go out anyhow. They do their things in the mode according to the ideology of the religion. So it is evil for Iran to do that because Iran is not a friend of the West. But it is, ideal for the Saudis to do it because Saudi is the puppet of the West. Now coming down to Egypt to have the nerves to be able to turn back thousands of volunteer workers who wanted to go into Gaza with aid and assist and everything. And is that in favor of the Arab League, or in the favor of the people of Gaza, or the favor of the Muslims Ummah generally?
Okay, with the kind of dynamics going on in the Middle East, and the system of government in Iraq versus that what we have in Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, Iran is running a democracy because they elect. Saudi isn't running a democracy. But what the West is not telling us is that they are not really interested in democracy. They are interested in the personality or the crop of leaders a country has that aligns with them.
Yeah.
So if Saudi, whom is not running democracy, aligns with the West, but another country just like China, who is also running democracy because they run election, is not their friend, then they give every reason to criticize the government. Because look at, they make it look as though democracy is a one cap fits all system of government. Strangely enough, the democracy that is even run in West differs across different countries.
Exactly.
The one run by, see the number of years the German Chancellor Angela Merkel spent there. He spent about 12 years. What makes that different from what a dictator does, who stays in power for decades too? Same way when you go to some other countries, you see the same thing. The same form of government that was run by Germany that was not criticized is what the likes of China is running, whereby they don't need to change leaders every 4 years, and they ensure that it is person of their interest. But what the West wants is that whoever wants to get to power is somebody of their own interest. Same way to Iran. Iran is doing presidential election. They have a president, but it's just that the dynamics of power in Iraq still goes to a supreme leader. You get, that has some aspect of the decision to take.
Both spiritual and,
yes,
social
aspect of their life. The president might talk about the economics and every other thing, but yes, so it's their choice, because they say democracy is the system of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So why would go against military or maybe a dictator is because such people force themselves on the people. If the people say this is the kind of government and they all agree, it's no more a problem. It's a democracy. because we can elect and say, okay, we do another election to say let this man remain in power for the next 100 years. If that is our choice and nobody is complaining, then it's okay with them. So this is, but because the main goal is the interest. Is this man, is it our man? Yes, we like him. If he's not our man, we don't like him, we condemn the government. So that is actually what is playing out in the world today regarding what they call democracy and what is not democracy.
So whose interest is turning back the volunteers who wanted to go break the siege in Gaza? Is it for betterment of the people of the Gaza, or the safety, or the involvement of the Egyptian government with the Israel?
The interest of turning back those activists that were trying to break the siege. You know, they said they are trying to break a siege. The siege is there against the interest of those people that are trying to break it, but to the interest of those who are enforcing the siege. So if they should break the siege, it means that they are going to expose Gaza to the outside world. They will be able to get, you know, part of the plan is to starvation of Israel on Gaza is starvation. They want to starve them to death and make it so constricted that they only have a place to get food. And when they are getting that food, like we have in the GHF, we kill them. We can always kill them daily. But if the siege is broken, nobody wants to go through that place. People can have easy access and easy access in and out of Palestine. That is one. The second one is this: you should understand that the siege is being sustained by an agreement between the West and Egyptian government. As it is today, Egyptian government gets funds from the American government every year that keeps the Egyptian military running. Nothing less, nothing, almost to the tune of $1 billion or more every year. So much that if Egypt should go against the wishes of the American interest, which is Israel, which is to enforce the siege, then they could risk losing their support from the West. So it is to their interest that don't let these people come in, don't break the siege. If the siege is not broken, Israel can be rest assured that yes, maybe if we take away all their supplies and there's no route of entry, supply for ammunition to the resistance group trying to reclaim their life, yes, maybe at some point, if we continue this war for some time, they will run out of weaponry and they will raise the white flag. Fortunately for the resistance, I guess there are other means through which they are able to sustain themselves, because it is very believable for them to still be able to sustain that, and it shows that they have the side of God is on them. So, and yes, it's just a matter of time. They will be victorious eventually.
So we definitely need, this is as good as, staying in the animals jungle, where you have to eat your fellow animals to be able to
Obviously,
survive.
that's what Israel is
And
doing to survive.
and it's same as the Middle Eastern leaders too. Because if you sign whatever agreement, you are not comfortable to internalize your own a problem in Egypt, look for a way to better your economy, to be able to survive, to be able to run your country. That you have to depend on foreign aid that is killing your own people.
I think on that, the Arab leaders, what is actually motivating them is greed. So because of what they want to get, and part of the greed is, yes, remaining in power. Some of them have committed so much atrocities, so much that they fear that the very day they leave power, they will be prosecuted and they will not be forgiven. So the same thing happened to the likes of Assad, because it was like if he should relinquish the power willingly, then what will happen to him? So that was why I could. So immediately they took the power from him. Where did he run to? He ran to Russia. So I think theirs is more motivated, more about greed. So trying to keep the affluence of this world and the power. Yes, just remain there. They don't want to relinquish it. They don't want to share power with anybody. They feel they own the country. So that is so unfortunate.
So on the last note, what how do you advise the Middle East generally as regards the new turn, because the war, the escalation between Israel and Iran has brought a new dimension into the Middle East, even to the world generally. A lot of nations who are coward in taking both steps would see that no, it is not enough to always, sit back and just say, oh, word of mouth. How are we going to bomb you? And everybody's just chilling. Like sometimes you need to really act for everybody all of us to know, okay, this is my level of this how far I can go with this person, this is how far you can go. So what's your advice generally? Because my belief is that this particular incident will have taken a new shape in the mind of the leadership of the Middle East. Because this is telling them that no matter the American presence in the Middle East, Iran, in its own little capacity, with the ideological difference of the Sunni and the Shia, but is it not a time for all of them to now say, okay, let us come back to the drawing table as brothers? We might have little differences, but can we create, a borderline defense? At least they have Iran, now they have Pakistan is already existing with a high level of technology and the like. So what advice would you give the Middle East generally in going forward?
Okay, like I think I've mentioned before, one of the disadvantage with the Middle Eastern countries is that they lack alliance. They lack alliance. Look at the GCC crisis about 5 6 years ago, over, where there was a serious blockade against Qatar from the Saudi Arabia and the US. Look at the Saudi war against Yemen, bombing Arabs for several years. Look at the rift between Saudi Arabia and UAE at some point in time. You get, so at some point in time, I think the Arab countries and Middle East generally needs to realize the need for an alliance, because the only reason why Israel is able to sustain this war and begins to look as though it's so invincible is because they have the formidable alliance behind them, and the alliance is watertight. So if they need to be able to sustain themselves, their civilization, their values, they must be able to form an alliance that will be able to cause deterrence. Not because they want to start incursion to other countries, no, but an alliance that will be able to form absolute deterrent against any aggression. And that is what actually almost affected Iran. And I believe Iran too might have learned now. Because at some point in time, Iran was not banking on any state partnership other than non-state partners, militias. And for every militias you create, you are destabilizing some other person's place. So militias in Lebanon against the interests of the Lebanese stability, militias in Yemen against the interests of the Yemeni stability, militias in Syria against the interests of the Syrian stability. But so they felt they've created enough buffer that could protect them against any aggression.
Direct aggression.
Exactly. But strangely enough, all these buffers, all these non-state actors were weakened within a span of 2 years. As Hezbollah was weakened, Houthis were weakened, even though they are trying to support their brothers in Palestine. The Syrian regime too was weakened. So they had a direct attack from Israel to Iran. So what if they had a good relationship? Even though it's a challenging one, they had a good relationship
with Jordan and co. Those ones will not be shooting back their.
So at some point in time, there must always be a concession to make. There are needs for concessions that, okay, we cannot be enemies. This is our interest. And I want to believe that the Arab countries too, the likes of Saudi Arabia and UAE, should be worried at the action of Israel. Because if Israel could have done that unknowingly, suddenly, to the likes of Iran, it means they are also not safe.
Exactly.
So they should begin to talk towards a line of alliance, and they should also increase their homegrown military armament. Because one of those things that actually saved Iran is the fact that they are the one producing their own military missiles, equipment, a large part of it. So if you're telling us you are not telling us your fighter jets because you are unable to make that now, at least you have enough ballistic missiles that we are producing, and we can always produce even when there is an active war. So that is what actually gave an edge, and it demystified the whole security of Israel, the Iron Dome, the third one, the third two, and the 4 layers of missile defense. And Israel felt it. So if they could actually sit back and recalibrate, build on their alliance, and build on their military might, homegrown military might, so that the Western world will not be able to always infiltrate them every time again.
Thank you, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate
Thank you. You're welcome.
you for coming on the show. We hope that next time we are going to be looking at the larger picture of the impact of the world generally. Thank you very much for
You're
coming.
welcome.
We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming to the show today. We really appreciate your comment. It's indeed a very enlightening and enriching one for us. Let us also engage the video via our comment section. Let us like and share for more videos and comments as regard happenings around the world and Middle East. Thank you once again, our viewers. We appreciate you all.